Welcome back to the Deep Dive. Today we're taking on something pretty huge, the UN's massive coordinated portfolio of artificial intelligence activities. It's maybe the biggest collaborative effort like this ever.
It really is. Think of this deep dive almost like we're instructors, you know? We're going to
Wow.
dissect this kind of master syllabus for global AI action.
Exactly. So our main source today is the latest annual UN Activities on AI report. It's a monster document, coordinated by the ITU, but it ropes in, what, 52 other UN agencies?
That's right, 52. And our job, sticking with that instructor idea, is to really break down how the UN isn't just, well, talking about AI anymore. They're actively using it.
Right, actively trying to leverage it to speed up progress on all 17 Sustainable Development Goals, the SDGs, before that 2030 deadline hits.
Which is looming, isn't it? The urgency really comes through in the report. It's not just AI is nice to have. The message is clear. AI is needed to, and I think the quote is, speed and scale interventions in ways we just can't with older methods.
Yeah, that framing of AI as an accelerator, almost for survival in some contexts, that's really the foundation for everything we're seeing in this portfolio.
And to manage all this, to coordinate it across the whole UN system, the Chief Executives Board set up the Interagency Working Group on AI, the IWG-AI, back in 2020.
Okay, the IWGAI, co-led by ITU and UNESCO.
Correct. And that's crucial because it pulls expertise from everywhere. It has to tackle this kind of dual challenge, figuring out the very tricky ethics of using AI globally while also driving capacity building, especially, helping countries that don't have as many resources get up to speed.
So the report itself, it's more of a collaboration tool than a complete list of everything.
Exactly. They've been compiling it every year since 2018. It's not meant to be an exhaustive inventory. It's more like a curated showcase of practical projects.
Showcasing what's working.
Right. Things like smart agriculture, AI and healthcare, climate monitoring, transport logistics. I mean, it covers pretty much everything. It really shows that AI isn't just some future concept for the UN anymore. It's embedded in how they operate now.
Okay, so if we take that bird's eye view, looking at the whole portfolio, what are the big trends? Where's the focus?
Well, the report pulls out some key cross-cutting trends. It shows they're getting more organized about this. First off, the actual outputs, what are they producing? It's consistently two main things.
For sure.
Reports of, policy documents, standards, and software tools. Sophisticated ones.
And not just basic software, right? We're talking mobile apps for people in the field.
Yeah, mobile apps, web-based dashboards that policymakers can actually search and use, and increasingly, those generative AI chatbots.
For public info or even internal stuff.
Both. It shows they're moving past just ideas on a whiteboard. They're building things people can actually use. Deployable tech.
Okay, so that's the output. What about the focus areas? Which SDGs are getting the most attention?
We still see the usual suspects leading the pack. SDG 9, that's industry, innovation, infrastructure. SDG 10, reduced inequalities. SDG 16, peace, justice, strong institutions. And SDG 17, partnerships.
Makes sense. Those seem like areas where big data analysis and efficiency gains from AI would have a really immediate impact.
Exactly. But there's a really interesting shift this year. A new player has jumped right into the top group.
Yeah, which one?
SDG 8, decent work and economic growth. There's been a big increase in projects focused on that.
So reflecting the whole global conversation about AI and jobs, skills, supply chains.
I think so, yeah. The UN is clearly making it a priority to understand and, try to manage how AI is going to reshape work globally.
Okay, so SDG 8 is up. Are there areas that are maybe lagging a bit, where the report says more action is needed?
Yes, it explicitly points out areas needing more targeted action. These tend to be more environmental. SDG 6, clean water, 7, clean energy, 12, responsible consumption, 14, life below water, and 15, life on land.
So projects exist there, but maybe not at the scale needed.
That seems to be the implication. The deployment isn't quite matching the urgency compared to those top 5 priority areas.
Got it. And the last big trend you mentioned.
Collaboration, a huge surge in it, and not just inside the UN system.
Right, partnerships outside.
Yeah, the numbers are pretty striking compared
Yeah.
to last year. A 56% jump in collaborations with other international organizations, 39% more with civil society groups, 37% with governments, and 35% more with universities and researchers.
Wow. That really points to a more open, federated approach, doesn't it? Breaking down those institutional walls.
Absolutely. It feels like they're trying to build a truly global network for AI expertise. Okay, so let's dive into our first case study. We'll focus on something incredibly high stakes, nuclear monitoring and security. Specifically, looking at the work of the CTBTO, that's the Comprehensive Nuclear Test Ban Treaty Organization, and the IAEA, the International Atomic Energy Agency.
Right, moving from, say, climate forecasts to stuff that directly impacts global security, preventing catastrophe. Let's start with CTBTO that links to SDG 16, peace and justice, right? Verifying the ban on nuclear explosions.
Exactly. The CTBTO relies massively on its International Monitoring System, the IMS. It's this incredibly complex global network, 337 facilities worldwide, all designed to pick up signs of a secret nuclear test.
And AI fits in how?
Well, look at Project 5 Global Nuclear Explosion Monitoring. This is already deployed software. Right now it uses, more traditional statistical methods, rule-based systems to sift through seismic data.
But they're upgrading, moving towards more advanced AI.
Definitely. The next step involves things like artificial neural networks, ANNs, and support vector machines, SVMs. They need more power to handle the sheer volume and complexity of the data. And Project 6, which focuses specifically on seismic aftershocks, that's already well into testing.
Ah, the aftershock problem.
Mm.
Sorting the real signal from the noise.
That's the core challenge, yeah. You get a potential signal, but you also get tons of noise, natural earthquakes, big mining blasts, you name it, and aftershocks from previous events. The trick is telling them apart, and fast.
So how does AI help with that? Project 6 uses something specific.
It uses a technique called a self-organizing map, or SOM.
SOM. Okay,
Yeah.
refresh my memory. That's a type of neural network, unsupervised.
Exactly. Think of it like an automatic pattern spotter. It takes all this complex seismic data and visually groups similar events together based on their characteristics.
So it clusters the noise.
Right. Common noise patterns, like typical aftershocks, get grouped together visually. This lets the human analysts quickly see, okay, this cluster's just background noise, and ignore it. They can then focus all their attention on the weird outliers, the low probability signals that might actually be something serious.
So it streamlines the human analysis. It makes sense given the stakes. You can't afford to miss something, but you can't waste time on noise either.
Precisely. Now let's shift to the IAEA. Their work is broader, touches on a lot more SDGs: health, 3, climate 13, energy 7, innovation 9, and security 16 again.
Their health work, SDG 3, sounds quite technical, ensuring AI is safe in hospitals.
Very technical, yeah. They've published a lot on AI and medical physics. The key insight, really, is stressing the vital role of clinically qualified medical physicists, CQMPs.
CQMPs.
These are the experts who really bridge the gap between the AI developers and the actual patient. They're the ones ensuring the AI used in things like radiation therapy or medical imaging is not just effective, but actually safe for the patient. They define the roles, manage the risks. It's critical quality control.
Got it. And they're also using AI for climate work, something about lakes.
Yes, Project 6 again, but this one is about assessing climate impact on global lakes. They used AI to analyze the stable isotope composition of water in over 1,200 lakes worldwide.
Stable isotopes, to track where the water comes from and goes.
Essentially, yes. And the finding was pretty startling. On average, about 20% of the water flowing into global lakes is lost through evaporation.
20% globally.
But here's the kicker. In about 10% of the lakes they monitored, mostly in arid and temperate zones, that evaporation loss jumped to over 40%.
Wow, 40%. That's a huge number for water management in dry regions. Major policy implications there.
Immediately. And based on this, the IAEA is pushing to set up a global network of isotopes in lakes GNIL.
GNIL, to standardize the monitoring.
Exactly. Get consistent, systematic data from around the world. This will feed back into the AI models, improve the assessments, and give a much clearer picture than just scattered local studies.
Okay, moving to SDG 9, infrastructure and innovation. IAEA is involved in fusion energy research too.
Heavily. There's Project 13 on AI for gamma spectrometry, but the big one is Project 15, the Fusion Data Lake.
Fusion research.
Yeah.
Huge amounts of data, international teams, security concerns.
All of the above. Sharing proprietary data securely between different research groups is a massive headache. So the IAEA is building this secure online data lake using the Snowflake platform to try and overcome those hurdles.
What makes it a data lake? What does it provide?
3 key things. 1, a searchable catalog so researchers can actually find the data they need. 2, a federated database so you can access data across different institutions securely, and 3, centralized storage designed for collaboration.
So it's basically building the shared workbench needed for AI to really tackle fusion problems.
That's the idea. Provide the secure, scalable environment for machine learning models to chew on all that complex plasma physics data.
And finally, back to security, SDG 16, AI in nuclear facilities themselves.
Right. Project 18 is gathering info from countries about the safety side of using AI in nuclear plants, and Project 19 is pure nuclear security.
Like protecting the AI systems.
Exactly. They have a research project specifically looking at enhancing the computer security of AI applications used in the nuclear field. They're worried about vulnerabilities. Could someone manipulate the data fed to an AI? Are the algorithms transparent enough, making sure the AI itself doesn't become a weak point?
Okay, let's pivot now. From high-tech security to maybe more ground-level stuff. Economic development, livelihoods, food. Focusing on the FAO and IFAD and SDG2, zero hunger.
Right. The FAO's data lab, which has been running since 2019, is really interesting. It's designed to turn mountains of information into actual evidence for making decisions about agri-food systems.
What kind of information?
All sorts: scientific papers, legal texts, satellite data. It uses NLP, machine learning, geospatial analysis to pull out the useful bits.
And what do they do with it? Any specific examples?
Well, Project 5, the Agriculture Digital Advisory, they built a sort of prototype, an MVP, using OpenAI and Python. Its first job was focusing on nutritional calculations, turning complex science into practical advice for planning.
So taking knowledge and making it directly usable. And they're also using AI inside the FAO itself, AI workmates.
Yeah, this sounds like a pretty significant internal shift. It's not just about external services. They're using AI, specifically Microsoft Copilot for M365, to handle internal tasks.
Like what? Scheduling meetings?
Writing reports.
Exactly that kind of thing. Scheduling, pulling information together from different internal documents, drafting reports. It's based on FAO's own secure knowledge sources.
And the goal isn't cutting jobs, but freeing people up.
That's the stated goal. Capacity liberation. Letting their skilled staff focus on the complex stuff. Negotiations, fieldwork, analysis that humans really need to do, instead of spending time on routine admin.
But freeing up capacity only works if the tools get used effectively, right? The report mentioned a lesson learned from FAO, something about armyworms.
Ah, yes, the fall armyworm monitoring platform. A critical lesson. The tech worked, apparently, but the biggest hurdle wasn't the AI. It was getting people, FAO members, field staff, to actually use the platform and, crucially, to share their data in real time. The human factor again. Convincing people to adopt new ways of working and sharing information. Always the bottleneck.
Always. And that human element, empowering people on the ground, that seems to be a big focus for IFSD, the International Fund for Agricultural Development. They work on rural transformation, climate resilience, SDGs 1, 2, and 13.
So what are they doing? Tell me about this Farmer Chat, Project 11.
This sounds quite sophisticated. It's an AI digital assistant being piloted in Nigeria, specifically for the field extension agents, the people who advise farmers directly.
And they partnered with big tech names, OpenAI, Meta, Google.
Yes, MSR2. The idea is to give these agents instant access to information on soil, pests, climate adaptation strategies right there on their device. Helps them be more effective, especially when they cover large, remote areas.
And they have tools for the farmers themselves too, Smart Farm.
Right, in Ethiopia and Rwanda. This one, funded by the GEF Challenge Fund, gives smallholder farmers real-time weather and climate info, plus advice through accessible channels. It's about building resilience right at the farm level.
They're also using AI for their own internal management, right? Portfolio analysis.
Yeah, they use AI-driven interactive dashboards for their corporate portfolio stocktake. It helps them constantly evaluate how well their global projects align with key food system goals. Production, livelihoods, climate change, resilience makes portfolio review much more dynamic than just, an annual report.
And they use it for risk analysis too, looking at fragile situations.
That's fascinating, yeah. The global portfolio analysis of fragile situations, it uses AI to basically score new project proposals against IFAD's definition of fragility.
It scores the risk.
It does, but it also does more. It pulls out the text from the project documents that justifies the score. So it's not just a number. It gives deeper, evidence-based reasons why a project in a difficult area might be considered high risk. Helps them allocate resources more strategically.
Okay, shifting to the world of finance now. The IMF put out a paper on AI and machine learning in the financial sector. They see benefits, obviously, but also risks.
Big time. The paper highlights the rapid uptake of AML in finance, but the main concern they raise is pretty stark: the risk that AI could actually widen the digital divide.
How so? Between advanced and developing economies.
Exactly. While AI offers huge gains in efficiency lending, fraud detection, risk modeling, the infrastructure, the data, the expertise, the regulations needed to use it safely, well, they aren't evenly spread.
So rich countries get richer, basically. They pull further ahead.
That's the fear. Without deliberate action to counter it, the advanced economies could gain a compounding advantage, potentially leaving developing economies further behind.
And there are risks to the system itself.
Yeah.
Stability, integrity.
Yes, unique risks. Could complex AI create hidden connections that make the system fragile? Could biased algorithms lead to unfair lending? Because the tech is evolving so fast, the IMF's message is clear: strengthen your regulatory oversight now. Don't wait to see what goes wrong.
Makes sense. And quickly, in trade and shipping, IMO and ITC.
Targeted applications there. The IMO International Maritime Organization sees AI playing a key role in training seafarers, specifically helping them learn how to safely handle the new low-carbon fuels needed for greener shipping. It's about managing the human side of that transition.
And the ITC International Trade Center, helping smaller businesses.
They're using supervised machine learning mainly for efficiency. It helps them automatically sort through vast amounts of information to find content relevant to trade and SMEs.
Freeing up analysts.
Exactly. It saves junior analysts a lot of time on categorization tasks, so they can focus on higher value work, like direct advice to businesses, a clear time-saving benefit. All right, next up is a really foundational area: governance and standards. This is arguably the most critical piece for making sure AI is adopted responsibly and globally. We're talking ITU, OHCHR, UNDESA here.
ITU always comes up first when you talk tech standards. Their AI for Good platform sounds central.
It really is. The AI for Good neural network is basically a huge matchmaking platform. It's got, 15,000 members now? It connects AI innovators from universities or the private sector with real-world social impact needs identified within the UN system. Covers all 17 SDGs.
A connector. And in health, they're collaborating heavily too. GIAI4H.
Yes, the Global Initiative on AI for Health, that's ITU, working with the WHO and WIPO. It's got three main functions: enable setting policies and guidance, facilitate sharing knowledge globally, and implement actually helping countries set up AI programs for their health systems.
They're also tackling some pretty futuristic stuff like self-driving cars.
Yeah, the Focus Group on AI for Autonomous Driving, FGAI4AD, they've produced standards defining a minimum performance level for the AI system itself, what they call AI as a driver.
To make them safer.
Exactly. The goal is directly linked to reducing road deaths, SDG 3.6 and 11.2. It's about building public trust and ensuring these AI drivers meet rigorous safety standards before they're widely deployed.
And they're trying to map out who's doing what globally on AI policy.
Right. That's the AI Landscape Survey. It came out of a plenipotentiary resolution in 2022. It systematically collects information from all member states about their AI policies, regulations, initiatives.
So you get a global picture of readiness. Who needs help?
Precisely. Essential for benchmarking and targeting capacity building efforts effectively.
Okay, shifting to human rights. The OHCHR, the Office of the High Commissioner for Human Rights, they're applying existing principles to tech companies.
Yes, specifically the UN Guiding Principles on Business and Human Rights, the UNGPs, looking at how tech companies' activities impact human rights, especially around surveillance.
And they had a specific report on protests.
They did. On peaceful protests and new technologies, it really highlights concerns about AI surveillance, particularly facial recognition being used during protests.
And they made a strong recommendation.
A very strong one. A call for a moratorium on using facial recognition in the context of peaceful assemblies. The argument is it has a chilling effect on free speech and assembly rights. They also stress transparency and explainability for any AI processing personal data, crucial for trust.
That policy focus continues at UNDESA, right? Department of Economic and Social Affairs. Inclusive AI.
Yeah, their upcoming Technology and Innovation Report 2025 is all about inclusive artificial intelligence for development. It's meant as a guide for policymakers. How do you design national tech policies so that AI actually helps reduce inequality, not make it worse.
And they're building tools to help with policy research itself, using AI to analyze policy.
This sounds incredibly ambitious. The Data Governance Policy Toolkit project, they're using generative AI, LLMs, topic modeling, sentence embeddings to analyze a massive data set, 18 million policy documents,
18 million. Wow.
to automatically filter, cluster, and benchmark policies related to data governance. The idea is to give governments much faster, more accurate comparisons when they're trying to figure out best practices or update their own rules, policy analysis at machine speed.
And they're using complex analysis for government rankings too, e-government surveys.
Right. They use complex network analysis to group countries into clusters based on similar development levels. This lets them reinterpret the e-government development index rankings more fairly.
So you're compared against your peers, not just globally.
Exactly. It identifies who's doing well within their group and where there's room for improvement, making the rankings much more useful for national planning. Instead of just saying you're ranked 150th, it says you're lagging behind your peers in these specific areas.
Makes sense. Finally, in this section, Justice and Law Enforcement, SDG 16, UNODC and UNICRI, drugs monitoring.
UNODC, the Office on Drugs and Crime, runs the drugs monitoring platform. It's a geocoded system pulling data from multiple sources, even social media, to track drug trafficking trends in near real time.
Giving law enforcement a dynamic picture.
A very dynamic one. Apparently, it holds about 1.8 million geocoded drug seizure records. The AI helps spot emerging routes and trends, allowing for faster responses.
And UNICRI, the Interregional Crime and Justice Research Institute, they're working on AI for protecting children.
Yes, the AI for Safer Children initiative, running since 2020. It's exploring how AI can positively help law enforcement prevent, detect, and prosecute child sexual exploitation and abuse online.
That sounds like a very sensitive area. An ethical high-wire act.
Definitely. It's focused on how to use AI ethically and effectively to protect vulnerable kids while respecting rights. And this ties into their work with Interpol.
The toolkit for responsible AI.
Right. They developed a toolkit with Interpol on responsible AI innovation in law enforcement, and now they have the AI PL project to help agencies actually put that guidance into practice, ensuring police forces adopt AI ethically and transparently.
Okay, let's move into Section V, AI for social impact. We're looking at the ground-level effects now: environment, health, education. Starting with UNEP, the Environment Program. SDGs 6, 11, 13, 15.
Right, and UNEP offers a really important lesson learned from their Digital Accelerator Lab.
Which is?
Start with the demand. You absolutely have to begin with a clearly defined environmental problem that needs solving. You can't just build a fancy AI tool and then look for a place to use it.
So user needs first. Talk to the people facing the problem.
Critically important. Early user engagement is key to making sure the solution actually works in the real world. It needs that iterative, demand-driven approach.
Makes sense. And what are some of their actual tools? Something about freshwater?
Project 10, the Freshwater Ecosystems Explorer. This uses machine learning on satellite images to automatically identify surface water bodies across the globe.
And this data is used officially.
Yes, this is huge. The annual dataset it produces is actually a formal reporting indicator for SDG 6.6.1 tracking changes in water ecosystems. And apparently it's the only globally derived satellite-based indicator in the whole SDG framework that countries can use directly in their national reports.
Wow, so it provides an instant verifiable baseline for water health worldwide. Saves countries a ton of work.
Exactly, a benchmark tool providing authoritative data consistently.
They're also looking at methane and mining.
Project 8, the Public Eye on Methane platform. This uses AI deep learning models on multispectral satellite imagery. It's being used to improve monitoring of large surface mines and tailings dams, initially focusing on South Africa and Lesotho.
And they tested different satellites for this.
They did. Shows the level of detail needed. They found Sentinel-2 data gave better accuracy for this specific task because of its higher resolution, 10 meters, and more frequent revisits, even though Landsat has a longer history. Technical choices like that matter for reliable monitoring.
Okay, let's turn to UNFPA, the Population Fund. Sexual health, misinformation, SDGs 3 and 4. The Taboo project in Colombia sounds interesting, using NLP.
Yes, natural language processing. This was very targeted. They used Python for web scraping and NLP to analyze over 200,000 tweets in Colombia.
To find what?
To automatically classify common myths and misconceptions about sexual and reproductive health, SRH, things related to STIs, modern contraception, etc.
So the AI didn't just say there's misinformation, it mapped out what the specific wrong ideas were.
Exactly. Like how many tweets repeated the myth that you can't get an STI from oral sex,
Yeah.
or that emergency contraception causes infertility. Knowing the precise myths allows UNFPA to create much more targeted and effective public health messages to counter them.
Tailored counter messaging.
Yeah.
Smart. And they have a chatbot in India. Just ask.
Yeah, and it seems very successful. It was co-designed with young people focusing on sensitive topics, puberty, safe sex, contraception. It's handled over 2.2 million queries.
And people keep coming back.
Apparently so. A 44% quarterly retention rate. That suggests young people really trust it as a private, reliable source for information they might not ask about elsewhere.
And they're tackling connectivity issues, too, for low-resource areas.
Critically important, yes. The Nima SmartBot, also in India, it's an AI service integrated into the Safe Delivery app to help midwives, the key feature. It's designed for robust offline functionality.
Works without internet.
On basic smartphones, yes. So health workers in remote areas can still access up-to-date knowledge and advice even if the connection is bad or non-existent, overcoming that digital divide.
That focus on access is a good link to UNICEF Child Wellbeing Inclusion,
Right.
SDGs 4.1.10.
Right. Their AI 4D research bank uses high-powered geospatial tools, Google Earth Engine, Facebook's settlement data to improve how they estimate poverty or research air quality, especially in places like the Pacific Islands where traditional data might be sparse. Higher resolution insights for policymakers.
And UNICEF actually funds AI development directly through their venture fund.
They do. It makes small, early-stage investments, $50K to $100 C, but specifically targets open-source tech for kids, and their calls often ask for data science and AI solutions, like algorithms to map schools or clinics using just satellite or social media data after a disaster.
And Project 13 accessible digital textbooks using AI. That sounds potentially revolutionary for kids with disabilities.
It really does. Right now, making a textbook accessible Braille, audio, different formats can take months, 6 to 9 months, and it's expensive. They're exploring if generative AI can slash that time down to days.
From months to days.
That's the goal. It would make accessible formats vastly more affordable and quicker to produce. They're starting pilots in Latin America and Africa. It's using AI to fundamentally change the logistics of inclusion.
Amazing. And finally, disaster response. Forecasting dengue.
Yeah, in Brazil and Peru, they use ensemble machine learning models combining multiple models for better accuracy. They feed them 20 years of dengue case data, plus detailed satellite weather data and socioeconomic info.
Learning from history to predict the future.
Essentially, the model gets pretty good at forecasting outbreaks under different conditions. This gives health authorities advance warning so they can get resources in place and hopefully contain epidemics faster. Predictive power for public health. Okay, our final section zooms in on institutional growth and governance across the system. How do you build ethical policies and make sure the staff are ready? We're looking at UN Women, UNU, and the UN Staff College, UNSSC.
UN Women First SDG 5.
Yeah.
Gender equality. Their big concern is AI inheriting or even amplifying existing biases, right?
Absolutely. That's why their publication, Challenging Systematic Prejudices, is so important. It digs into how biases against women and girls show up in large language models.
Like associating certain jobs only with men.
That kind of thing, yeah. The report offers concrete recommendations for policymakers and developers on how to spot and counter these biases, aiming for truly inclusive AI.
And they're training people to spot this too, the UN Women AI School.
Exactly. It's designed to build AI literacy, specifically focused on gender-responsive and inclusive AI for activists and changemakers, mainly in the Asia-Pacific region. It covers the tech, but also advocacy and social impact, training leaders to be critical users and shapers of AI.
Okay, UNU, United Nations University, Ethical AI in Cities, and Mapping the Global Rules.
Right. They're working with ITU and others on guidelines for cities, helping them adopt AI responsibly, focusing on ethics and inclusion. But maybe their most ambitious project is Project 36.
Mapping the Global Regime Complex System of AI. That sounds complex. What could regime complex?
It's basically acknowledging that there isn't one set of global rules for AI. It's this tangled web of overlapping, sometimes contradictory policies, global, regional, national, even industry-specific ones. Thousands of documents.
The UNU is trying to map this web.
Exactly. Map it, cluster it, model how it's evolving. They use advanced methods like topic modeling to see what the policies are about, and discourse network analysis, DNA.
Discourse network analysis. What does that show you?
It helps visualize how policy ideas travel and who influences whom. You can see which countries or organizations have similar policy language, where the strong connections are like maybe the EU, Canada, and certain UN agencies forming a cluster, and where there are gaps or disagreements. It gives policymakers a dynamic map of the messy reality of global AI governance.
Fascinating. Mapping the conversation itself. And you also looks at AI for big threats, like pandemics.
Project 28, yeah. Building citizen science intelligence for pandemic preparedness. It uses participatory modeling and AI simulation, piloting in Vietnam, Kenya, Brazil. The idea is to improve crisis resource management and involve citizens more directly in data-driven responses.
Finally, the UN Systems Staff College, UNSSC, getting the UN's own staff up to speed on AI.
That's their core job here. They're weaving AI discussions into their main training programs. For example, the course on the Paris Agreement on Climate Change now has a whole module showing how AI can be a tool for both mitigation and adaptation, making sure climate experts know how AI can help them.
And they're even looking at how AI can change training itself.
Right, through the UN SDG Learn AI Working Group, they're exploring how generative AI could help design better instructional materials or make learning more engaging, using the tech to improve how they teach about the tech, essentially.
Okay, we've covered a huge amount of ground. Looking back at this whole UN portfolio, this massive effort, what are the main takeaways? If we synthesize this, what are the actionable insights?
Well, a few key themes really stand out across all these agencies.
Yeah.
First, how AI actually shows up in the UN system. It's primarily through those two things: detailed reports setting policy and increasingly sophisticated software tools.
So AI is both a thinking tool and a doing tool.
Exactly. It's an accelerator for efficiency, but also, as we saw with OHCHR and UN Women, it's being used as a check and balance, forcing discussions about ethics and bias.
Okay, that's one.
Hmm.
What else?
Second, the design of the projects themselves is changing. It's clear they're moving towards multidimensional projects. Very few focus on just one SDG anymore. They're tackling interconnected issues: poverty, climate, health, infrastructure, all within a single initiative. Think of those IFAD or UNICEF examples.
Reflecting the interconnected nature of the goals themselves. Makes sense.
And third, the underlying technology infrastructure is shifting. There's a strong move towards systems that are open, adaptable, and federated, like the Fusion Data Lake or some of the environmental monitoring platforms.
The goal isn't just black box AI.
No, the goal seems to be building tools that support and augment human analysis and decision-making, making sure the insights are shareable, interoperable, and ultimately empower the human experts, not replace them.
So the big picture message, echoing folks like the IMF and UNDP, is still heavily focused on that ethical core. Make sure AI helps reduce inequality, especially for vulnerable groups, and doesn't accidentally make things worse.
Right. And the governance, the policy frameworks, they're racing to keep up with the tech. That gap between the speed of AI development and the speed of responsible policy development, that's where so much of the critical work is happening right now.
Which leads us perfectly to our final provocative thought for you, the listener.
Yeah, something to really chew on. We've seen multiple examples today of AI getting really, really good at predicting things. Forecasting dengue, anticipating humanitarian needs, maybe even famine or forced displacement like UN Global Pulse works on.
Okay, so what happens when the prediction becomes almost certain?
Exactly. What happens when the AI tools become so reliable at predicting a coming crisis, say, a famine in a specific region 6 months out, that the ethical pressure shifts? Does it move from just predicting the crisis to demanding we use that foresight to marshal resources and actually prevent it from happening?
So if you can see it coming with high confidence, are you then obligated to stop it? Does anticipating the future that clearly fundamentally change our responsibility in the present?
That's the question, isn't it? How does near-certain prediction alter the ethical and logistical calculus of intervention? It's a profound question we'll all need to grapple with as these predictive capabilities keep getting stronger. It potentially shifts AI policy from being reactive to being proactively, maybe even preemptively, responsible.
A powerful thought indeed. Thank you so much for walking us through this incredibly dense but vital UN report. It's been fascinating.
My pleasure. It's a critical area to understand.
And thank you all for joining us for The Deep Dive. We'll see you next time.